Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Connect, our family life program brought to you. We are the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. My name is Uyai Anekan, and it's a great delight to be here this evening just to have these conversations with you and see what's happening. Of course, we usually talk about everything relationship, family life, parents, children, man, woman, relationship, however you love it. And today we have a very, very serious issue to talk about, especially because we are celebrating the International Women's Day today. Women are synonymous with parenting. Women are synonymous with relationships, in the home front. Our conversation today will be looking at relationship between children and parents, navigating this relationship in our family relationship. Of course, we're going to be having several people on set to have this discussion with us today. Live on set here with me is Ruth Nations, who herself is a super teen and a teens educator. Very great to have you on the show today, Ruth.
Good to have you too. Thank you.
All right. And also we have joining us virtually this evening all the way from Ekiti State, a teens enthusiast and women's enthusiast also. Of course, she's a dental surgeon, Dr. Juliet Ogunlela. Very good to have you, ma'am. Thanks for joining us on the show this evening. Okay, I don't know if she can hear us. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear us? Good to have you on the show this evening.
Thank you.
All right, she's of course we'll have to try and fix her audio right there. We also have joining us still from Ekiti State, Damaris Ogunlela, who is obviously the daughter of Dr. Juliet Ogunlela. Of course, she will be speaking from a child's perspective to us on the show this evening. Good evening, Damaris. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, great. So we're going to be having such a great conversation this evening. We are looking at parents-children relationship, navigating teens relationship and the parents. And back end story, I know that every teenager has a story. They can tell how their relationship have been with their parents. So I will start with you this evening, Damaris. Let's get a little back end from you. What would you analyze your relationship to have been like with your parents when you were a teenager? I know you are a super teen now, of course, in the university, but give us a background of your relationship with your parents when you were a teenager.
As a teenager, I would say that my relationship with my parents was really good. It was smooth. I saw them as a safe place, and I began to, it was also correctional because coming from my basic childhood, I used to see my mom as very harsh and strict and all of that. But as I moved into my teenage years, I got to understand that the harshness and everything was actually coming from a place of love. So I became more comfortable with my mom and even with my dad. So yeah, that's what it was like.
Okay, so pretty much you had a good relationship with your parents. Now let's look at being friends with your parents, right? A lot of people say parents
Okay.
should not be friends with their children. A parent cannot be a friend. You just have to be a parent. What would you and what would you say about your relationship with your parents? Are they friends with you, and are they friends with your siblings, or they just prefer to be parents like normal African parents?
Well, in my own case, it's pretty different. My parents are my friends. Like I always say that my mom is my best friend, and not out of the like a cliche way, but because she's actually my best friend. So I think that when parents make it comfortable for their children to just tell them anything, they can actually be friends, and it can go from just being parents, parent-child relationship can now become a friendship. So I'd say that my parents gave me that. They made me feel very comfortable and safe with them, like I mentioned earlier. So, we could now cultivate a friendship. So I know that okay, if I'm coming to them, if I'm telling them something, they're not going to, all be, oh, don't do that, don't do this. They actually listen, and also I think another thing that's helped to have a kind of friendship with my parents is the fact that they are, they are not, how would I say now, they are not always willing to. They don't just want to impose their own thoughts on me. They also make me feel like, okay, let me hear what you have to say. So they help me and even my siblings feel like, oh, you have something to contribute, and so that way that kind of makes the relationship look more like a friendship than just a father-daughter or mother-daughter relationship.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's a lot of perspective right there to our conversation. Okay, let's just move straight to Dr. Ogundela right now. I'd like to ask Ma, what inspired, what kind of relationship did you see yourself having with your children before you began to have them, and what inspired your standard of training for your children? Of course, we've heard Damari say that the family was able to establish friendship with the children. Why did you toe that line? Of course, that is not normal for every African parent in our clan.
Yes. Um, I would say in my own family, growing up, there were some things that I noticed, and I didn't really want that repeated in my children or in my next family. So I made up my mind that I would do things differently. And so I worked on that. I wanted a close-knit family where children can feel free, they can feel comfortable, they can find home to be a safe place. They find their parents the first person they can run to when they need to talk to someone. I wanted also to eliminate siblings rivalry, you know. So I worked on that, created time for them. Each child is different. So I make out time for each child, listen, attend to them as individuals, not grouping them together as all of them are children, all of them are my children. No. The one is different from the other. They all have their makeup, they have their inbuilt personality that drives their character. So I worked with that.
Okay, oh, so that's very awesome. Breaking it down to individual children, not trying to clump everybody together. We are all children. Okay,
Absolutely.
so let me speak with you for a bit.
All right.
It's great to see that you are a super teen, but yet you're offering teen education to fellow teens in the city. Give us a background. What was growing up like, and why did you decide to toe into giving education at an early age to teenagers also?
All right. First, what inspired me literally to do what I'm doing is because I did not really have a fun time growing up, but it all made sense because I had parents who were very protective, and then I found them as a safe home for me. So in the process, I was disciplined when I was wrong, and I was corrected as well. So I find it very exciting, and it gives me beautiful memories to go back to literally. So as an African home, growing up in an African home, it wasn't that beautiful as all we could just imagine, but it was worth thinking about. So I see that I got inspired from my own upbringing to help teenagers have a wonderful, successful teenage life without having to go through some of the challenges we went through while we were growing up. And this is a better way to build up the society. So I feel it's my own way of adding up to the society.
Okay, so let's talk about communication between parents and children. How will you, on a scale of 1 to 10, giving us examples, how would you, rate your communication with your parents? Have you gotten to the point where you can actually talk to them about anything and they can understand and they have a good system of communicating with you and your siblings?
Oh, absolutely there is. So I could rate it that it's better than it used to be when I was in my early teen age. It's better than it used to be. Now I feel I could talk to them about some certain things. I feel it's not right, and they understand me, and they take what I have to say. And that is quite exciting to know that my parents really trust my own decision at some time. So it's a different way from the way it used to be. So it's progressing, and it's beautiful that it's progressing. I feel okay, and I feel excited that my parents trust my decisions, and then they allow me make decisions and make the choices I have to make. So it's
Progressive.
yeah, very, very
Progressive is the word. I think with relationships, there's really not supposed to be any point where it's static. We are all growing in the system. So parents are growing, the children are growing alike, and
Absolutely.
all of that. Okay, so I'll just head back straight to Dr. Ogunlela. Let's talk to the parents. Oftentimes there is a gap in parenting between, how different parents, decide to frame their home, decide to relate with their children. And this, I believe, affects the outcome of the kinds of, the kind of quality of children that we see in our environment. So as a parent, Ma, what would you say, your generation of parents did wrong, in terms of raising children? Because I'm very sure that you've had your children interact with other children in the society, and you're shocked when you hear certain stories. What would you say your generation of parents did wrong? And if you can even backtrack to the generation of parents before you, because I believe that parenting is handed down. What would you say you people did wrong, and how have you found a way to develop upon it? I also know that you are very enthusiastic about teaching women, for better life. So how have you been able to impact them? And we are beginning to see a change in the platform of relationship with parents and children.
Yes, let me start with the generation before mine. The generation before mine believed that women ought not to be heard. They ought to be, they even to be seen. They ought not to be seen either. So you found mothers who were quick to shut their children up. They felt you don't come out, your children, you don't come out where elders are talking, you don't sit where your parents are sitting, and they dealt with children that way. In my generation, it's not too different, although there's a little more freedom, but you still find that parents shutting up their children. And there is one thing common with African parents, the issue of using bad language. They're quick to curse, abuse, and to use words that actually make children feel inferior, lose their self-confidence, and that goes far into where they're going, goes far into their future. It makes them unsure in everything they do, whether in school or in relating with people in public places, even up to their workplace. So I talk to women when it comes to child training. You need to understand that people are first human beings. It's not because they're children you think they don't have a mind, or they don't, or they can't be affected. What you say to them and what you do to them goes a long way. One thing we must work at is what we say, the words we use on our children. Be affirmative. Be affirmative. Commend them. Let them use positive words. Draw them close. I see some mothers, they feel the children shouldn't come close. But that makes for some kind of bonding. Right from the baby stage, you should keep them close to you. You should make out time for them. You should prioritize your children. Some parents put outsiders before the children, and that makes the children feel they're not important, makes them feel they don't matter. And so even when they're in trouble, they feel you don't care. So they don't come to you, they go to friends, and these friends are their advisors and give them wrong advice. That way they go on to getting involved in all sorts of vices, and it goes on to affect the society at large. So first, you must learn as a parent to affirm your child. Affirm them, speak positive to them, listen to them, make them know they are the best.
Okay, network has cut Doctor off. I don't know if Damaris is there. I'd like to talk to Damaris at this time. Now, something that we have to talk about is an open, honest conversation. Can you tell us one of your weirdest experiences as as a child with your parents? One of those very weird experiences. Maybe a story, something you had to tell your mom or your dad, and then they had a reaction about. But just give us a peep into communication with your parents and what it's been like. And also, I think it's important for you to tell us how this relationship has impacted your life now that you are in the university and in an in a more open society. How has your relationship with your parents framed and impacted your life now?
All right. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So I think one experience that comes to mind is when I wanted to make the choice of my course of study in university. And I wanted to study a particular course, and my dad was not having it. And we had this series of conversations about it. And and I just felt like this man just doesn't want me to do what I want to do, and things like that. And I was really upset. I remember one particular, the final conversation we had about it, and he was like, no, we are not going to do this. Initially, it was like, oh, I'm just, he was, maybe he didn't seem very forceful. He was just like guiding me, like, oh, do this, why don't you do this? But that particular day, he was like, no, this is, my final decision on this thing, this is what I'll say. And I just cried. I remember just walking out, and I was like, hey, God, you know. But I thought about it, and I just felt, you know what? He's older, he has seen more of life than I am, and I feel like, well, let me just, what's the worst thing that could happen? I think it's wise that I listen to him and just agree. And the funny thing is, as I agreed to do the course that he was suggesting, I got into uni and I started enjoying it. But it was like that was like the perfect course for me. So yeah, I'm really grateful that my father insisted. I know that in some cases it's different, but one thing I've come to understand is my parents and I may have differences, may have conflicts, but one thing I always keep in mind is that whatever my parents are telling me, it is from a place of love. It's not from a place of, oh, they just want to control my life. I may perceive it as that, but that is not what it is essentially. So when I understand that it's from a place of love, I'm able to, like just calm down instead of just, always, be confronting and all. No, I just calm down and understand that, okay, they're just trying to guide me. And then I let them know that I respect them and I respect their authority in my life, at least before I transition fully into adulthood. So even when I want to plead my case and say, oh, can we do it this way? I first acknowledge that, okay, yes, I respect you, I'm ready to obey you, but here are my thoughts, here's how I feel about this. And because they also have, made the family such that you can actually air your opinions, I feel very comfortable doing that. And I think it has really, really helped me, in university now that I'm alone most of the time, by myself. I feel like, okay, even if I don't get things right, I can always run to them. And even, yes, as a young adult now, I still need them. That's one thing that a lot of us young people don't realize. We actually need our parents. I always think of them as, guardian angels, that God has sent to us to just guide us through. They've been through all of this, and it's only wise that we run to them for, guidance and instructions. So I still find them very instrumental in my, growing up into adulthood and all of that. So I still run to them. I still say, "Oh, I want to do this. What do you think about it? What do you think about it?" And they tell me, and I'm able to just, it helps me make better decisions about anything that I want to do. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's so great. I think something you have navigated us into is conflict resolution between parents and children. That's something we're going to come to. So give us an insight. When you talk about conflict resolution in your family, and I also want you to put the rest of your siblings in mind because like your mom had rightly said, every child is different. They handle issues differently, right? And respond to rebuke and all the likes differently. Now, give us an insight into conflict resolution in your family. How is it done with different temperaments and different ways of life? How have your parents handled conflict between you as a child and a parent, and conflict between siblings? Your mom rightly talked about not wanting sibling rivalry in her home. How has that been for you?
All right. So let me talk about how my parents handle conflict resolution between siblings. So growing up, there were rules. There were rules. Number one, you don't use derogatory words on each other. I've never, in my entire life, I've never had to call my brothers any, wrong name or things like that. Another thing is my parents didn't just give us rules; they lived up to their rules. My parents have never, I can't remember them ever using derogatory words on us. Saying things like "I'm mad." No, it has never happened. Even things like "I'll slap you," to get physical. And although yes, they used to beat us, but they never said those things like "I'm going to slap you," "I'll kill you." No, they lived up to, they were good examples for us. And so when they gave us rules, we knew better than than not to obey them. So yes, there were rules. You cannot be physical. You can't get angry and slap your brother, or your brother, you slap your sister. It's not allowed. Don't use the wrong words and things like that. So even yes, when we have conflicts, when my brothers and I, argue or things like that, my parents always, sometimes they just leave us to ourselves, especially now that we are older. But you're adults, you can sort yourself. And so since we already know, we've already been trained how to relate with one another, we're able to just communicate. Now moving on to how we handle conflicts between parents to children. My younger brother, for example, would never say when he's offended. He'll just say, "Okay, mommy, okay, daddy," and he'll just go away. But then you can see his body language. He's not excitable or things like that. And I'm like, "Josh, what's wrong? What's happening?" And then even you have to press and press before he will say what's wrong. But for me, I don't know how to form. Once I'm not happy, I just tell my friends, "Daddy, I don't like that thing you said. Mommy, I don't like that thing you said."
And
However,
then they
there's
are
also
not
some
like, why
cases
would you
where
say that to me? That's
maybe
that's
I'm
kind
the
of
one that.
different. When you tell your parents, I don't like what you said, or I don't like how you reacted on that issue, are they not reactionary? The average child can't tell their parents that they are dissatisfied with anything that they did. We don't see that in most families. So how do your parents take that when those things happen?
Okay, so what I was just about to say is, you have to be very good with the timing. That's the thing.
Mm.
Your parents can be correcting you at the same time you are correcting them. It doesn't work that way. They are the parents. You understand? So that's what. So when they are talking to me, I try not. That's not the time to say, "But I don't like the way you're talking to me." No, we can't. Two of us cannot be angry at the same time. So yes, they are saying things that I don't like. I'm a bit upset. I just try to listen through to the end, and then I kind of test the atmosphere. Okay, are they willing to listen now? Are they still upset? Sometimes during conflict, just say, "I'm sorry, mom. I'm sorry, dad. I'm going away." Yes, you're offended. Later on, you can come and bring up your kids. Maybe when you guys are just watching TV, having family time, the atmosphere is cool, everybody's happy, and then you're like, "Mom, I don't like that thing you said earlier." And since by this time she has already calmed down, she's ready to listen to me. But of course, it wasn't always this way. Sometimes um, she's shouting, I'm shouting, and she's like, "You're shouting at me, you're shouting back at me," and that kind of thing. But we've as the relationship has grown and we've understood each other better, it's very important that you understand your parents, really. My mom is different from my dad, very different. And I understand them and I understand how to deal with them. Sometimes I don't bother saying anything to my dad. I'm just like, "Okay, fine, no problem." I know eventually how things will play out. So understanding your parents and even the parents to understanding the child helps a lot with conflict resolution.
All right, okay, that's all awesome. So Ruth, let's come to you.
All right.
Teen and children's education. What would you say is the place of getting an education when you want to relate with teenagers or when teenagers want to relate with their parents? We know that people go to school and study for different courses. We now have the greater education of people, learning to get married. We have marriage schools, we have a lot of marriage books. We know we have books on parenting and children relationship, but um do you see a lot of people in the society engaging this education to make relationship better between children and parents or parents and children?
Okay. I think majorly you people do that. People engaging, reading books and then making findings, research to ensure that they do a better work in parenting now. So everybody just want to know. Everybody has this quest for knowledge. So I think if we all have this quest for knowledge, there will be a lot of progress because there are a lot of people out there who are telling stories, who are telling their life experiences through books, and they just want you not to repeat the same thing that had previously been done, and for us to progress because we all need to progress. We want to all do something differently the way it was being done. So books, it's a very good way. And I think lots of people are engaging in doing that. And some parents go as far as paying in educators to help them talk to their children because they find it difficult at some point to manage their teenagers at some point because they feel at that point it's now becoming difficult for them to talk to them because it's not like that stage where you had to guide and nurture them, care for them. This time you have to share and support them emotionally and the rest of those things. And some teenagers have their way of not saying out how they feel. They just act it out. So at that moment, they really need your support. They can't say it, they can't communicate that to you, but they need your support. So books is one of the easiest way to know how to access your teenager.
Are these books readily available? Like
absolutely, there are lots of them.
Lay their hands in them. Okay,
lots of them.
So, in your experience as a super teen, so give us one story, one time that there's been like a moment for you. Whether it was in your own relationship with your parents or as you engage teenagers in schools and churches and all of that. What has been one of the most bizarre experiences that you've had with a child and a parent relationship?
Okay, well, one of the scenario I had, it had a lot to do with me, so I felt kind of I related with that moment. A teenager spoke to me about having this there's no communication with the mother and he's a single parent, and that was really difficult. And I'm not a single parent, but I understood that moment of not being understood when you're trying to communicate, and then you're trying to say your point. You're just trying to let them understand how you feel, and they're not understanding. And it's now worse in the case of this child because she had a single parent, and that was the only person she could relate to. So she had to resort to talking to people outside, which is not right, which is not beautiful at some point, and it's not advisable. So that scenario was really hard, and I could understand with the pains and then the way she was trying to explain herself, literally. So I understood because there was this point of my life I found it very difficult to communicate with my parents, and not that I wasn't saying something. I was saying something with my actions, but they were not understanding.
Well, communication is more like saying, as in the meaning has to be derived when it's communication.
Absolutely, but it wasn't. I don't think there was any communication there because I needed a feedback somehow. A feedback maybe in terms of, okay, you could just tell me it's okay. And encouragement, literally. Encouragement really, really works. If you're talking to a teen, it works a lot. So I needed that encouragement that, oh, this is easy. This is what you should do. But I didn't get it. Rather, it was literally looking as if I was fighting between myself and where I'm supposed to feel like it's a safe home. I wasn't seeing it. So I understood that particular situation very much. And at that moment, all you need to tell the teenager is to calm down. Just be peace with yourself. Just be okay. Just calm down. I know the pressure is too much. just calm down. And when you're calm, it always results to the point that your parents like come to this place. They'll always come back to you. How can we help you? What is the problem? Sometimes some African parents, they find it a little bit difficult to talk to their children. I don't know if it's pride or something, but they don't just always find a situation to apologize to their children, which is important. You have to do that. It makes them feel they're important. So I needed that conversation. And then I think at some point, what I did for myself was I did not resort to talking to people, because I found them like I wasn't really relating with them. They don't know me. And I felt the only person that could respond to me was my parents. So I just maintained peace.
You found a way to work it out.
I just found a way to work it out. So you just have to be peaceful. Just peaceful. Yeah.
All right. I see a lot of great, intelligence happening in the conversation we are having this evening. We are looking at how to navigate parents-children relationship in the home front, managing teenagers. A lot of people always tell how tasking it is to have relationship with our teens, and we have seen that relationship with children need to be progressive. Education is important. Communication is important. Always acknowledging and using kind words on your children are very important. What we're going to do now is take a very quick and short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at the language of apology from parents to children. Of course, we have Dr. Juliet Ogunlela still with us on the show this evening to give us a parent's perspective, especially because she is an enthusiast with parenting also. So let's take a quick break, and when we return, Connect continues.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigeria.
From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security,
education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by them. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by
and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. This is still Connect, and we are coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Connect is a family life show where we look at all forms of relationship within the family units, whether it's between parents and children, between spouses and significant others, all the likes. But today we've been having a great conversation about navigating relationships between teens and parents, and it's been so insightful. You would do well to follow us across all social media platforms just so you can backtrack on the conversation that we've had so far. Lucky day. We're going to turn up the phone lines and have just 1 or 2 3 calls this evening. If you have a question that you want to ask the people on set, if a teenager is by you and they have what to say, we'd like for you to call in on the show this evening. Of course, Dr. Ogunlela is still on standby to answer certain questions with regards to parenting. And if a teen is watching and has a difficulty navigating relationship with the parents, Now is a good time for you to call in and ask a question. Thank you so much for everyone who is still on the show with us. Thank you, Dr. Ogunlela. Thank you, Damaris, for bringing your wealth of knowledge, and of course, Ruth. It's great having this conversation with you. So let's talk to Doctor. Ruth raised a really serious point the last time before we went on the break about language of apology, parents to children. A lot of parents in Africa do not apologize to their children. It's either seen as a sign of weakness or something that should not even be heard. Oftentimes, parents err against their children. You probably blew a situation out of proportion. When you find out that you're wrong, a lot of parents just wave it up. So what's it supposed to be like, Ma, to navigate that space between parents being able to apologize to their children? What should be the expected language of apology?
Treat children, be conscious of the fact that they're human beings, they're individuals, they have emotions, okay? And the same way you would have loved to be treated, that's the way you should treat them. Another thing is you have to lead by example. If you expect them to apologize when they do wrong, either to their siblings or to other people they relate with, or to you who is their parent, you have to show them by example. So your language should be one of sincerity. You must be sincere. You must be precise. Don't beat around the bush, and don't go by the corners. You're sorry, you're sorry. For example, if you accuse them wrongly, you probably say, I kept this bag here, and you removed it from there. And when I asked you, you said it wasn't you. Only for you to find out later that truly that child wasn't the one who moved the bag from there. It's simple. Oh, Dora just came in now. She told me she was actually the one who picked the bag. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I accused you wrongly. Simple. When you're making an apology, you make it in love. When you apologize, it means you care about that person. You care about how the person feels, that you want to show the person that you love the person, and you're also saying that you're human. You're human, so you can make mistakes. That way, the relationship is fostered. It builds confidence and trust. So just use simple language and with politeness. You're not going to be rude and you're not going to be shouting. And then you must say what you are sorry for. I'm sorry I accused you wrongly. I'm sorry I spoke to you that way. I'm sorry for hurting you. I realized that the way I spoke, you were hurt. I'm sorry for hurting you. It may be difficult the first time, but when you do it and you make it a part of you, you see that it's easy. And the child, it's like you pour water on heat, so the child calms down, feels loved, feels cared about, and makes life healthy.
Great. Okay, so I'm seeing that when we are able to do these things, we are developing the emotional stability of the child. Absolutely. We are also looking at how they are going to turn out in the society tomorrow. Because a lot of
Exactly.
times we are reactionary as human beings because that is how we grew up in our environment. Every little thing triggers you because you do not have a safe place. I think that's one of the languages that has really occurred in this evening: safe place, safe home, safe relationships.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about handling difficult teens. Some teens are just difficult, whether it's something from their environment or a fault of upbringing. Difficult teens are really difficult. So in your experience, just give us a little bit, and then we get to Doctor, who is a parent, to also tell us how is it like handling a really difficult teen, and looking at the fact that depression is now a big thing even amongst children. Clinically, we are having conversations of discovering depression in children. So let's talk a little bit about difficulty with teens.
All right. First of all, there's no child that is difficult.
There's no child that's
No
difficult.
child's difficult.
That has to be a blockbuster for tonight.
Oh.
Your children are not difficult. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
So it's you're just thinking it. They're not difficult. So what you need to do is that every child has a love language. So find out their love language and then speak it to them. Act it to them, do it to them. So one of the easiest way to do that, the easiest way to respond to every child, the easiest way to get their attention is to show them love. Show them love in your conversation, show them your love in every way you can. And then you just find them coming to you. You just find them coming to you. And that is very important. So this has a lot to do with them psychologically. And the psychological reactions, it's quite fruitful. It's quite beautiful when it happens that way. Whenever you respond to someone in love, the person literally feel cared for, feel pampered, and feel respect. Yes. The confidence grows. So this is the way we have to respond to them, and then every big mountain is literally melts down.
So you're saying that it's important for a child to feel respected by their parents. Respect is not just a thing that children have to give to their parents. I mean, we say respect is reciprocal.
Yes.
So we also see where parents make room for their children to feel respected.
Absolutely.
And I think it's worthy of note when you said there is no child that is difficult. It's a misunderstanding
Absolutely.
of communication somewhere.
Absolutely.
And everybody has a love language.
Yes.
Every child has a way they want to be reached out to.
Yes.
Learn it, discover it, communicate with them,
Absolutely.
and it will bring a playing ground. That's amazing. All right, Doctor, please let's tell us a little bit about handling, quote unquote, she says there are no difficult children. But when a child comes across as difficult, or a parent reports a child to you, what would you usually tell the parent to do differently with that child?
Yes, I agree with Ruth that there are no difficult children. They're only children seeking attention. All they want is attention. That's it. The tantrums, the misbehavior, the shouting, it's because they want attention. So first and foremost, make out time for that child. Make out time for that child. Drop some of the things you're doing. Sit down. Ask questions. What is the matter? What is the matter? Why? What do you want? Why are you behaving like this? What happened? Is it your friends at school? Did your teacher say something? And be there. Don't just walk away and say, if the child is not answering, he doesn't want to talk. I've been asking and he doesn't want to talk. No, that initial quiet is for the child to assess whether you're really
Oh, that's network can't get to the way now. Okay.
Are you interested in helping me out, or you just want to listen and walk away and listen? If there's some children who still won't talk, just let the child know, I love you and I care.
All right, those are some really great words.
You have some space.
Oh wow, network is really getting in Doctor's way. Okay, let's talk to Damaris now while we just try to wrap up the show this evening. Okay, Damaris, are you there? Can you hear us? So I just want
Yes,
you
I
to
can.
speak to the younger people, talk to the teenagers and the younger, generation of people, how to navigate their relationship with their parents. We're about to bring the show to a close, but talk to the younger generation, teenagers and super teens. How do you think that they can navigate their relationship with their parents? Now we hear no difficult children, no difficult parents. We just have a gap in communication and understanding each other. So what are your words to teens and super teens?
All right. The first thing I'll say is that know that family is everything. The older you get, the more you appreciate family. I know that you might have friends outside, you might look like, oh, they're always ready to listen to you. But when you look at it in reality, family, you will always come back to family. So, cherish your family relationship. No matter how it looks, your family has always got your back. It's when you have certain experiences that you realize that, this my friend that I thought was here for me, or more. No, it was not so. It's my mom that still pulled through, still came through for me. So don't tarnish, don't, sever that relationship. Don't say, I'm done with my family, I can't wait to leave this house. No, your family is one relationship that you can always, fall back on and you can always trust in. So cherish family relationship, understand your parents, understand their temperaments rather, understand them, understand what they really want for you, and just be calm. Like Ruth said, try to stay calm, calm down. It's really not that hard. And also understand that everything that your parents are doing for you is out of a place of love. It's coming from a place of love. And yes, they may not be the best at communicating it. Sometimes they're a bit too harsh. Sometimes they don't understand you. Sometimes they're not patient enough. Give them grace. Extend grace to them and say, well, maybe mom was just having a bad day. It's tough on her. Oh, the economy might be getting to her. Make excuses for your parents and just accept them and love them the way that they are.
Awesome.
And like Bible says, you should honor your parents no matter what. Know that it's an instruction to honor them no matter what they do to you. Don't lose your respect and regards for your parents.
Awesome. Don't lose your respect and regards for your parents. I think I'm so pumped up. So I want you to talk in closing about finding healing as a teenager who's hurt. If a teenager is watching us right now and they feel like I've been too hurt by family relationships, how would you ask for them to seek healing, and what's the easiest way out?
Okay, the easiest way out to healing, first of all, you need to take a time to know yourself. Take a time to be with yourself. We're too comfortable being around people and we feel uncomfortable when we're around ourselves. So let's get to know ourselves first. When you know yourself, it is easier for you to interact with another person. And then when you understand how very well, you don't just jump into people's lives. So you have to understand somebody before you start interacting with the person, so you don't end up hurting the person's feeling or hurting your feeling. So the first of all, what you have to do is to know yourself. Know yourself. It is very important. Know who you are. It helps you navigate through life.
So knowing yourself is the first port of call for getting healed.
Absolutely.
If you've had a traumatizing, teen age. Okay, this has been, I wish we could stretch this conversation more, but we'll definitely do this some other time, because we have to look into finding healing for traumatized children and, young persons, that are people who are really traumatized, walking through depression and all of that. And I'll definitely have this set of very incredible, members of Connect Family today to have this conversation again. But at this time, I must say a really big thank you to Dr. Juliet Ogundela, who is a dental surgeon and a teens and women's coach all the way from Ekiti State, for joining us today. Thank you very much, Ma, for coming on the show. Okay, and also want to say a big thank you to Damaris Ogunlela. Of course, that's Dr. Juliet's first daughter, and herself, she's a student, a blogger, and a baker. Big thank you to you, Damaris Ogunlela, for being on the show today. We appreciate you for, bringing us into your family space and sharing your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much, Ruth Nation, child, teens educator, and enthusiast herself. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. We appreciate your time on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Great time. We had a really great time, great conversation here on Connect. And I want you to go back to all the social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Catch up on all of the conversation. Send in your question. We can always forward them to the members of Connect family today, and we will send you answers. My name is Uyai Aniekan, and I must say thank you so much for being on Connect today. We do hope that you had value for your time. Let's do this again next week.